Here is a town of 2,000 people. The spotters have picked 123 hardcore shits. Over a period of several months, these shits die, become sick, go insane, go bankrupt. No one in town thinks anything about it. No apparent relation between disparate incidences. No pattern. The Johnsons killed or rid the spaceship Earth of malefactors who are sabotaging our space program. It's like you see somebody knocking holes in the bottom of a lifeboat and shitting in the water supply. To make it further understood, as soon as the article goes into mass production, the company doesn't want to know about a simpler, better article, especially if it is basically different. So a number of very good inventions are scrapped and forgotten. We can extrapolate that the same formula applies to living organisms once we have accepted the supposition that living organisms are artifacts created for a definite purpose. There are no cosmic accidents in this universe. I mean, of course, the universe which we see and experience. No reason to think that this is the only universe. This universe is probably a minute fraction of the overall picture, which we will not have time to see. And if we saw it, it would be, to our limited perceptions, completely incomprehensible, which is why we can't see it. A phenomenon must be to some extent comprehensible to be perceived at all. So at the outset is a breakthrough that makes a new technology possible, and an efflorescence of inventions, good and bad. Then one of these models, and not necessarily the best one, goes into mass production, and that's it. No more changes, no more basic innovations, just technical improvements. There's no basic difference between Kitty Hawk and a modern jetliner. Now, apply this concept to living organisms. The mammalian configuration opened up a whole new technology with an outpouring of mammalian models. And there were creatures between mammals and reptiles, quite good, some of them. Models about the size of a wolf with lizard claws and teeth. Promising. Imagine a mammalian brain with reptilian features of quiescence and renewable neural tissue. Look at Homo sapiens. Before they went into production, there must have been some good models lost in the shuffle. And for what? Look around you on the street, and what do you see? A creature that functions at 1/50th of his potential and is only saved from well-deserved extinction by an increasingly creaky social structure. Let's go back to the early models before they started rolling the inefficient internal combustion engines off the assembly line. Consider the mammalian species we see at the present time. Mass production set in, and that was the end of evolutions. Darwin doesn't explain why the whole evolutionary process is drawn to a halt. Answer is simple. The mutation process has stopped. There won't be any more changes at this rate. Just as the auto industry doesn't want to know about turbine engines because they would have to scrap their dies, and that is the most expensive thing they could do. So present-day controllers don't want to scrap their horse-human models because doing so would involve paying currency that they don't have. The currency of creation. They don't want to know about a better human model that is basically different. They can be relied upon to sabotage any meaningful space program that involves biological alterations instead of transportation in an aqualung. Which is like moving a fish up onto land in an aquarium. You have to be in hell to see heaven. Flashes of serene and timeless joy. A joy as old as suffering and despair. I theorize that the present god or gods were not the creators. They took over something already created and are using it for their own purposes, which is not at all to our advantage. To put it country simple, the Christian God exists. He is not the creator. He stole someone else's work after the manner of his parasitic species. He steals and curses the source. The Christian God, and that goes for Allah, is a self-seeking asshole planning to cross us all up. Like all colonists, he despises those he exploits. To him, we are nothing but escape energy. He needs our energy to escape because he has none of his own. Who but an asshole wants to see people groveling in front of him? Like a little soldier, I stand at attention before my captain, said Pope John 23. God, what shit is this? And the prayer-muling Allah freaks is bolted from the same crock of shit. See human history and prehistory from this viewpoint. Look at it spread out spatially before you. See human history as a vast film spread out in front of you. Take a segment of film. This is a time segment. You can run it backward and forward. You can speed it up and slow it down. You can randomize it to anything you want with your film. We might say that the next radically new concept, biologically speaking, will be the transition from time to space. This transition consigns the entire time film, a whole pre-recorded and pre-filmed universe, to the scrap heap, where we hope it will have the consideration to rot. Its final moment may be great heaps of plastic. Plastic cola hits the spot and stays there forever. The pause refreshes, a long pause, and nobody there to refresh. The film flickers out, only the plastic containers remain. Cut word lines, cut music lines, smash the control images, smash the control machine. The only thing that could unite the planet is a united space program. The Earth becomes a space station and war is simply out, irrelevant, flatly insane in a context of research centers, spaceports, and the exhilaration of working with people you like and respect toward an agreed-upon objective, an objective from which all workers will gain. Happiness is a byproduct of function. The planetary space station will give all participants an opportunity to function. You have to be in hell to see heaven, flashes of serene and timeless joy. A joy as old as suffering and despair. So our local war revolves around basically simple situation, the conflict between those who must go into space or die, and those who will die if we go. They need us for their film. They have no other existence. As soon as anyone goes into space, the film is irreparably damaged. You are not there for the beginning. You will not be there for the end. Your knowledge of what is going on can only be superficial and relative. My brain is now littered with old pieces and bits and pieces. When you see someone who looks like the saddest man in the world, that's him. How can a man who sees and feels be anything other than sad? Well, you should have thought of these things. I did, but thinking is not enough. Nothing is. There is no final enough of wisdom, experience, no holy grail, no final satori, no final solution. Just conflict. The only thing that can resolve conflict is love. Love. What is it? The most natural painkiller there is. Love. A writer's will is the wind's a dead calm in the western lands. Point way out, he can start stirring of the sail. Writer, where are you going? To write. Here we are in texts already written on the sky, where he doesn't need to write anymore. Always remember, the work is the mainsail to reach the western lands. The texts sing. Everything is grass and bushes, a desert or maze of texts. Here you are, Never use the same door twice. Sky in all directions on the word for word. The word for word is word. The Western sail stirs candles on 1920 country club table. Each page is a door to everything is permitted. The fragile boat between this and that. Your words are the sails. The road to the Western lands is the most dangerous of all roads, and in consequence the most rewarding. To know the road exists violates the human covenant. You are not allowed to confront fear, pain, and death, or to find out that the sacred human covenant was signed under pressure of fear, pain, and death. They can keep their covenant in case of being caught short with 1,000,000 years of bullshit. To enter the Western lands means leaving the covenant behind in the human outhouse with the monkey ward catalogs. I want to reach the Western lands, right in front of you, across the bubbling brook. It's a frozen sewer. It's known as the duad, remember? All the filth and horror, fear, hate, disease, and death of human history flows between you and the Western lands. Let it flow. How long does it take a man to learn that he cannot want what he wants? You have to be in hell to see heaven. Glimpses from the land of the dead. Flashes of serene and timeless joy. A joy as old as suffering and despair. The old writer couldn't write anymore because he had reached the end of words. The end of what can be done with words.